All right, so we're diving into How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, a self-help classic.
Definitely. And I love the mix of stuff you've got. For us, excerpts, we've got a peek at the title page, the contents, even the preface.
It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at the book itself.
Right. It adds a whole other dimension to it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to unlock some serious wisdom on conquering worry. What have we got?
Well, it's interesting how much those extra pieces, like the preface, really add, you get this glimpse into Carnegie's life, like
Yeah.
35 years before he even wrote the book.
Yeah, in the preface, he describes himself. He's selling motor trucks in New York City. He's unhappy, living in a room infested with cockroaches. Not exactly the self-help guru image, is it?
Not at all. It makes you realize he's been there, He struggled, just like anyone. He wasn't always about living your best life.
Right.
Which makes his advice way more relatable, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. And get this, he kind of fell into teaching by accident. He wanted to write and teach. Yeah. But his first experience was totally unplanned. It actually came from his own struggles with confidence earlier in life.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about turning your experiences into something positive, right?
Exactly.
Okay, but here's where it gets even more interesting. The preface reveals that this whole book, this whole thing, was inspired by the adults that Carnegie taught. And worry was a huge problem for them, just like it was for him.
That makes you wonder, what if he hadn't had those struggles and those teaching experiences? Would we even have this book?
Like a domino effect, right?
Totally.
One thing leads to another. All right, let's unpack some of Carnegie's actual advice, get in the meat of it.
Yeah, let's do it.
One thing that really stuck with me was this principle of living in day-tight compartments.
Yeah, such a vivid phrase.
I love it. It's so descriptive.
It is.
What does that even mean?
So it essentially means shutting out the past and the future.
Okay.
And pouring all your energy into just today, just handling today's concerns. He even compares it to something Admiral Ernest J. King, who ran the U.S. Navy during World War II, said.
Okay, hold on. I need to hear more about this Admiral King connection. That sounds really interesting.
Right. So Carnegie quotes Admiral King as saying, and I quote, "If a ship has been sunk, I can't bring it up. If it is going to be sunk, I can't stop it. I can use my time much better working on tomorrow's problem than by fretting about yesterday's. Besides, if I let those things get me, I wouldn't last long."
Whoa.
Talk about applicable advice.
Oh, wow. That's pretty intense. But you know what? He's right. If it's not something you can control right this second, dwelling on it is just wasted energy, It's gone.
It is. It is.
It makes me think, what areas of my own life could benefit from that day-tight compartment approach?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, that's something for everyone listening to think about, too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And speaking of dwelling, Carnegie tells this really interesting story about a man who's completely consumed by worry. And he eventually finds help from an army doctor who uses this simple hourglass to kind of explain things.
The hourglass analogy.
Yes, the hourglass analogy. I remember that being highlighted. It's so clever. It gives you this visual of tasks that just flowing one at a time.
Right, one grain of sand at a time.
Yeah, instead of all at once.
Exactly. And the doctor really emphasizes that one grain of sand at a time, one task at a time.
Because it's so easy to try to tackle everything at once, right? And then you feel completely overwhelmed.
Right, like you're juggling and you're just dropping all the balls.
Exactly. So what if we each just picked one grain of sand from our to-do list to really focus on today?
I love that. Sometimes simplifying is the most powerful thing we can do.
Totally. Okay, shifting gears a bit here. Carnegie also uses this interesting story about a grizzly bear